All right, welcome to your latest edition of Lessons in Deeper Wisdom. It is me, the Lightbulb of Higher Thought, and I'm here with Nashan. Speak to the people, say hi.
Hello. Welcome. Greetings, good people.
Yeah, so today on Lessons in Deeper Wisdom, we're going to get a little, I really don't even, as a wordsmith, I don't even know if I have the word for right now.
We're going off the beaten path.
We are, and I'm excited about it. And I'm not going to keep the people waiting. So we're going to talk about witchcraft. And I want to know, oh no. Yeah, we went there. We're going there.
We're going to the witchcraft. We're going to the dark side.
Yeah.
Is it the dark side, though?
I want to find out.
Okay.
I'm going to find out. I am taking it upon myself for the people to figure this whole thing out, because this is a heavy conversation.
Well, I should warn you, okay, in advance. I am a witch, so I'm a little biased. So be careful about.
So you kidding about being a witch or being biased? So you just kidding about being biased?
Card carrying.
You're is there like a certification board?
No, there's no witches council or anything like that. I mean, despite what people might think, no. But there is a. Have I been initiated? Yes.
So like, no broom thing, no giant, no. There's no witch's broom.
There are witches' brooms.
Okay. We might have to get into that later.
We're gonna get into it.
Okay. So, all right. Well, first things first.
Yeah.
What is witchcraft?
Now okay. We'll start with this to explain what witchcraft is. We'll explain what religion is, or we'll talk about religion versus a magical practice.
Okay.
So.
That M word.
I know. So every single religion has a faith system, a belief system based off of a religious text or a religious doctrine, right? Almost all of them have a flip side to that, which is the Gnostic side, which is the magical or willful practicing of what I call will working, or the manipulation of reality through magic or energy or faith or whatever you call it. The Christians have one. They were called the Gnostics. Okay, a lot of their books will be found in the Apocrypha. The Muslims have it. The Jewish people have it. Their Gnostics haven't been so much dismissed, so much as they just don't talk about it with other people. So it's really about the understanding of the balance with faith with magical acts. A magical practice is the Gnostic side of a religious practice. Sometimes it has something to do with the religion. Sometimes it's a magical practice of its own that has absolutely nothing to do with the religion. So they're two separate things. For instance, I am what's known as a Wiccan. My faith is Wicca, the belief in the duality of deity and the worship of nature and the natural order. Okay? My magical practice is witchcraft. Now, they sometimes go hand in hand, so there are witches who are Wiccan, and there are Wiccans who are witches, but they're not the same thing. There are some witches who have no faith, who don't believe in anything other than their magical practice.
But does the magical practice not require faith at all? So it's not like, okay, I'm going to do this magic and have faith that it works.
It's not so much having faith that it'll work. That's belief and faith in your practice, but not of faith in a deity.
Okay, so we're speaking deity wise. Okay, understood.
So you have this magical practice. This magical practice is, in almost every tradition, the act of manipulating reality or manipulating energy through thought and intent, through will and intent. Now, a lot of people get caught up in that part and they really want to know, okay, well, so does that mean I can do anything I want? Yes and no. It depends on, it's sort of like, think of it like playing basketball. Everybody can pick up a ball and throw it at a hoop. Doesn't mean you're going to hit. Doesn't mean it's going to go in. Doesn't mean it's going to be even on the court you're on. Okay. Some people shoot off into the rafters because they don't have a skill to do it. Magical practices are a skill that you develop. They are a traditional skill that you develop.
Okay, wait a minute. I do mean to pause you.
Pause me. Go ahead.
So what you're saying is, Steph Curry is magic. I would, because if you say yes to that, if you say yes to that, I would believe you.
Okay, no,
because there is no way that you've never seen anything like that before. It's almost magical that this individual will pull up from the parking lot. While eating ice cream
and hit threes
and hit a three while being guarded and turn around before it goes in.
Well, yes, but here's the thing. He's not magic. But
okay.
He does have a practice. Okay, if you practice anything long enough, you're going to get good at it, period. So he practiced basketball. The same applies to magical practices. The more you do it, the better you get at it, the easier it is for you to manipulate reality. Now, I come at it from a skeptic's point of view. I didn't believe any of this stuff at first. I thought people who were into witchcraft were crazy. I said, these people are deluding themselves. They're imagining things. It's complete, BS. Okay, so you do this thing and then all of a sudden you get what you want. And that's not how it works. So I came into it skeptical, thinking, okay, I can delude myself into believing anything. We all can. So I want to see evidence or proof. And I don't mean proof that somebody showed me, because people lie. Okay, so
fair enough. They do.
People lie, manipulate, and sometimes they just make stuff up. So I don't believe it because someone else told me. I went into it with the understanding that, okay, I want to explore this and see if it's real for me. And as I began to practice and as I began to explore, the more I learned, the more it began to manifest in ways that I could not deny, that I couldn't disprove. You know what I mean? For instance, there was a ritual that we were doing with my former coven, and in this ritual, we were opening the southern gate. Long story, but suffice it to say, the southern gate relates to fire or passion. So when we were opening that particular gate, someone during the ritual made a mistake, and they dropped a log somewhere they weren't supposed to, and it fell and knocked over an altar table that was holding the southern gate.
That sounds like a horror movie, but continue.
But it wasn't bad. But the candle on it fell over and ignited the altar cloth. Okay, so the altar cloth is on fire now. Okay, I grabbed the altar cloth, and there was a bucket of water nearby, and I put the altar cloth into the water to put the fire out. And for about 3 to 5 seconds, I watched the altar cloth burn underwater. And now we're going to say for just a second, 3 to 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do you have any idea how long that is when you're watching something that is, according to the laws of physics, not possible happen? It is.
Yeah.
Right. So it was astounding to see. Okay. And when I say I know it's true, it's because it was in my hand. I put the part that was on fire underwater and watched it burn.
If I'm coming from a religious point of view, that's the devil. like how else? First of all, you got a southern gate. What else could that be, right? You know what I mean?
Okay.
In the mind, like what else would that be? Because now when you talk about gates, we know about the pearly gates, and then we know about the ones that aren't so pearly. They're a little hot.
I'm with you on that.
And then you're bringing up fire, and
it's scary.
This is scary. And then the stuff, the candle falls over, the tablecloth is on fire now. Maybe something ain't right here. Maybe there's another energy or entity or a demon or something around here that's causing this, and we shouldn't be doing and dabbling in this stuff.
I can completely understand where you're coming from on that. And for a lot of people, that's enough to get them to never start. And if you have that philosophy, you shouldn't. I have turned more people away from the craft than I have brought people in for that reason. If your belief system starts with the devil, you're coming at it from the wrong perspective, and you don't need to be practicing at all. Okay, period. So, but let's start with this. Where did that whole concept of the devil and witchcraft come together? Well, in ancient times,
this is about to be good.
there were people who were known as the Wick. These were people who were knowledgeable in the villages and the towns. They were the people who understood how to put bombs and salves together, who helped with, the basically plowing of crops and whatnot. They were the people who had knowledge of medicine and whatnot. These people carried the knowledge of the village, and they were known as the Wick. Now, when you had that's great until you get these people who were, what they call them, priests. They came in and they said, hey, guess what? We're taking over here now because you guys got conquered, and we're going to be these people for you. And they're like, well, we already have one. It's this woman over here. She births the babies. She, heals the wounds. When somebody gets injured, she, does the bandagey thing. And they go, well, we can do that now. And they're like, well, no, we like her. And so they said, well, we can't have that because you need to come to us because you give us that gold stuff that we like so much. And if you don't give us the gold stuff, then that's a problem. So the only real way to get rid of that person was to declare them a witch or a bad person or in league with the devil. So they came out with this book called the Malleus Maleficarum, and that is the witch's hammer. It is designed to show priests how to determine if someone's a witch, to determine how in league with the devil that they are, and then to torture them until they admit it publicly and then kill them. So you have this group of individuals who like the golden stuff. They come in and they say, you have a lot of knowledge that we want to actually sell to people now. So guess what? You are now a witch and in league with the devil, and all of the problems of the village are now because of you. The devil made you do it. So then they burn these people. Any woman who was outspoken, any woman who spoke back in protest, any woman who was strong-willed became a target. There's literally a documented case of a governor moving into an area, finding a woman very attractive, and he asked her to marry him. She said no, so he declared her a witch, and within 24 hours she was tortured and stoned to death. So,
man, the power of or the guilt of whatever you want to call it, rejection. You can't.
Well, if you want to talk about the power of the devil, the power of the devil comes from the ability to use it as a bludgeon or a tool to force conformity.
That's fair.
So when people come at it from, is witchcraft the devil? Well, there is no devil in Wicca. Now, are there witches who worship this Christian deity known as the devil? There are a couple, I'm sure. But for the most part, the devil doesn't exist in the craft. For the most part. There are outliers, but for the most part, it doesn't exist. We don't worship the devil. We don't believe in the devil. That's a Christian thing.
So, okay, there's no devil, right?
Right. You're good.
Okay, so there's no devil.
No.
In the craft.
No.
Is there a God?
There are multiple. Depending on which, again, it's a magical practice. It has nothing to do with your faith. So you can do witchcraft and never believe in any deity whatsoever. It's simply about manipulating reality. It's about moving energy around. Now, in Wicca, is there a God? There are multiple. There's a whole host of them that you can pick from. Do witches who have faith incorporate them into their craft? Yes. But witchcraft in and of itself has no deity. It doesn't require it. Think of it like alchemy or science. It is the manipulation of energetic elements for purpose. That's it.
Okay, so it's like, all right, I know this group of leaves or whatever. Like, say you want to do something like some ritual, right? Mm-hmm. All right, I know these things are related to this idea, mm-hmm. So I'm going to use this because it carries this energy.
Exactly.
For this specific person to get this outcome. I know that was very, very broad.
No, but you're exactly right. So there are stones that have a particular energetic resonance. Okay, there are crystals that have a particular energetic resonance. There's wood and dirt and blood and all kinds of natural elements that have their own energetic signature. What witchcraft is taking those energetic signatures, putting them together in a way that is pre-planned so that you understand which energies you want and which energies you don't. Performing a ritual which is designed to manipulate your own mind so that you can say, okay, I need to be into a mindset that unifies my mind, body, and spirit. So I am literally doing this ritual that helps me to ground and center out my body, helps me to calm and focus my mind, and helps me energetically to align my spirit with all three of those. So when I have myself in alignment, now I'm in ritual space, I can actually bring those other energetic elements in, the crystal, the stone, the dirt, and then use that energy for purpose.
Okay, understood. I'm gonna go back to, and mind you, I have a religious. I grew up religious,
Sorry.
right? And so I'm asking because I know a lot. Well, they will have these questions as well. So okay, well, why do you need to do that when, if coming from a religious perspective, and I know, like you say, in witchcraft, there can be multiple gods, and you don't necessarily need to have a religious deity to lean upon. Whereas, I guess, even if you go to Christianity, they would say, okay, well, why do I need to do all of that when there's God and I could just rely on God to do whatever it is that I need to do, and I don't need to manipulate anything?
You don't.
Fair point.
That's the key.
That's
some people. It's sort of like.
But is it bad if you do?
Think of it. No, it's not. Neither is bad or good. Think of it from this perspective. When you want to say you want to go to Vegas, I want to go to Vegas, and I want to get to Vegas. You have a couple of options. You can choose to get in a plane where there's a pilot, and the pilot takes you to Vegas, and your well-being and safety and whatnot is in his hands. You can get on a bus or a train and go to Vegas. The train has a laid-out track, and the conductor's taking it there, and you know that the train's going to get there because the track says it's going to get there. Think of witchcraft more as, I'm going to choose to drive myself. I'm going to take my car, I'm going to get in my car, and I'm going to drive to Vegas. You're in control of when you stop. You're in control of what you do along the way. You're in control of what snacks you bring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's more of a which way works for you. Okay, I don't knock in faith versus magical practice. They're not mutually exclusive. I blend my faith with my magical practice. As a Wiccan, I worship a god and goddess. In every ritual that I do in my magical practice, I invite their energy into my ritual because I want their participation, because my faith in them has developed a relationship where I feel comfortable with their energy being in my magical practice.
So it's more like an energetic friend.
I won't say friend. That's a
or liaison. Maybe
think of it more like I am as they are. You know what I mean?
You match.
Right. My energetic frequency matches their energetic frequency. I am attuned with their vibration. I am a part of them and they are a part of me. There is no separate. There is no part. A saying in the craft actually is, there is no part of us that is not part of the gods. In Wicca, there is no part of us that is not a part of the gods. We are of them and they are of us.
Now, with that, I would say that's the same thing that, well, okay, I don't know. I'm going to say that the same religion. thing that as religion say, but
that
yeah,
is religion.
At
that
the
is
end
the
of the day,
portion.
Yeah, it's okay. Well, if I am a child of God and God is everything, He created okay, well, God is within me, so I am a part of God, and God is a part of me.
Again, that is a part of the religious practice of Wicca, is that there is no part of us that is not part of the gods. The magical practice of witchcraft has no such saying. Their only saying is as above. Well, not the only saying, but one of their more popular sayings is as above, so below. It is the understanding that those things that are at a higher frequency or that are at higher energy are reflected in the lower energies of the manifestation of the physical world.
As above, so below.
Right. That is the understanding that there is a connection between the spirit and the physical. And that manifestation that you are seeking is to manipulate or to influence the spiritual to influence the physical. It's about understanding that connection. Again, you're talking a science versus a religious practice. They're two totally separate things that actually can blend together.
So we're talking grown-up science experiments.
Well, think of it like
in
this.
a way.
The Catholics are really good at this. So, like a lot of the ritual that you see in Catholic tradition come from pagan traditions that were very, very old. So if you go
to how Christianity and Catholicism was founded, that's,
they adopted a lot of pagan beliefs.
they adopted a lot of pagan religions, and including how they got the holidays and whatnot. They're all based off of other things, other deities and other practices,
right?
That some would consider witchcraft in an effort to bring the pagans over to the religious side.
So the practices are very similar. So if you look at, if you've ever been to Mass and you watch a ritual in Mass, it's very similar to witchcraft. It's very similar in how you do things. When you're talking about Candlemas or any of the core traditions of Catholicism, you can trace them back to a pagan tradition that is almost performed identically. And that was done on purpose, like you said, to bring people who were conquered, who were pagans, into a Christian belief system. So what we're talking about is not, witchcraft is not new. It's thousands of years old. It's just simply been adopted by other traditions in various ways. For us, we practice the old ways. We call them the old ways. And these are traditions that are based in the understanding of our connection to the natural world. So a lot of witchcraft is about natural things and being close to nature and using things that you find or make in the natural world in your craft.
Man, this is interesting. I like this, and I like it having to be explained to me like I am 5, because I like coming at it from this angle.
You got a little more knowledge than most. Come on.
I mean, I might, but I still have to. I still want to know what it is that I don't know.
Right.
Maybe I can get a better understanding. Maybe what I think I know, I don't. Maybe I have something confused. I don't consider myself a witch. I don't.
Not a lot of people will admit that.
Yeah, but do I believe that energy manipulation is a thing? I think that we're doing it every second, every minute of the day.
Well, yeah. But the reason why, and a lot of people ask, why am I so outspoken and out there as a witch? And the reason for that is because most people say they don't know witches. I'm like, you do. You just don't know that you know them because of what we call the burning times. Okay, and this is a period of history that lasted for a couple hundred years, where
shout out to King James.
Yeah, shout out to King James. Who basically you're looking at people who they branded anyone who was considered a witch, a devil worshiper, and they were tortured and killed. A lot of traditions were culled into silence and went into hiding because of that. Because when you have an organization as large as a international Catholic church going around basically saying, if you're considered a witch, we're going to torture you for an extended period of time, then we're going to disembowel you in public and set you on fire.
Now that sounds, one, traumatizing.
Yeah.
Two, I think this is where now you get into the faction of a lot of, which will probably be another episode, secret societies, as they say.
Yeah.
Because now, yes, a lot of these groups and covens or witches and practices, or, whatever you want to call them, have separated themselves and gone, at least partly into hiding.
Yeah.
And so now a lot of their intricate practices are also within that hiding. So they're not out in the open. So they have this mysterious aura around them, and that mysterious aura around them creates this level of fear that was brought on from those burning times. And so now it's looked at as something that, because it's in the dark.
Well, yeah. And don't get me wrong. I get why, based on what the propaganda that was promoted about witchcraft for hundreds of years, I get why people are afraid of it. The reason why I am actually an outspoken witch is because of the fact that there are so many people who can't. There are people who have lost their children, who lose their jobs, who lose family members and friends because they come out as a witch. And, so they hide it and they keep it secret because society does not necessarily, portray us in the best possible light. You know what I mean?
No, it doesn't. But I feel like there is also good and bad in everything, right?
There is.
I mean, if you want to go that route of, because there's everything, there's a positive and negative to everything. I wouldn't say bad or good. There's a positive and negative to everything.
Right.
And, what's good or as bad is subjective.
Yeah.
And so, you have people who you would consider to be bad witches, and then who would use their, I guess people who would use their skills for nefarious reasons.
Absolutely.
And then people who would use their skills, because there's always a counter to that, and there's going to be people who are going to use those skills for positive reasons. And I don't think that we have there's no like statistic that says, oh, you know what, 40% of witches are bad, 60% are good. Studies show, there isn't any of that, or you don't, if something bad is going on with you, somebody might assume you've been hexed. Yeah. There's a
okay. Let me put that to rest off rip, because people throw that word around a lot. Okay. Oh, somebody put a spell on me. Someone hexed me. Someone cursed me. For the record, just like with any tradition of any kind, you have out of 100% of people, you're going to have 5% who absolutely suck at it and can't learn it. You're going to have 5% of people who are rock stars at it, who are the Michael Jordans and the Steph Currys. Okay. And then you're going to have about 90% of people who are somewhere in the middle. They kind of fluctuate as far as skill and whatnot. In order to perform hexes and curses, you really have to be in that 95 percentile to do it effectively. Manipulating reality is extraordinarily difficult, and it requires a significant amount of self-knowledge, a significant amount of self-control, a significant amount of will and energy in order to make happen. To do even the most subtle things requires a lot of energy. To do what people generally talk about, where, well, I have a blood curse or a hex, a family hex that's been going on, that requires more energy than I've ever seen anybody pull together in a ritual ever. So in most cases, it's probably not a hex. In most cases, you probably weren't cursed. In most cases, you got some bad circumstances around you, and to be honest, in a lot of cases, most of the time it's coming from you.
I mean, you are creating your own. I mean, there are external circumstances that happen, and then based upon your view or belief of it,
nothing. Okay, and this is okay. I'm gonna be careful with this one, because I say this and people get really mad at me. Very little happens in your life that is outside of your control. And people say, oh no, there's stuff that happens. You saying I got cancer on my own? No, I'm saying if you smoke for 50 years, you run the risk of it. And so, yeah, if you get cancer, you did it to yourself. If if you have a disease, that's not your fault. But if someone hits you with the car, that's not your fault. But if you decide to hang out with a person who is psychotic, violent, and angry, and you date them, and then they go nuts on you because you choose to keep messing around with them, when they go nuts on you, whose fault is it?
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, like within life, yes, things happen. Life gets hard, but there are also everything that you have within your control is still your choice.
Right. Own your choices. Own who you allow into your sphere. Own who you allow into your life. Own the choices that you make about the places and people you associate with. If I hang out with drug dealers and I get shot in a drug raid, I can't be mad at the police. I did that. I chose to hang out there. I chose to hang out with those people who I knew were dangerous. If I am sitting in a situation where I'm hanging out with people who are thieves, and then, I know they're thieves, they rob people, and then they go into a store and rob a store, and I'm in the car and I get swooped up with them, whose fault is that? It's not the store owner's fault. It's not the cop's fault. It's mine for hanging out with people I knew were thieves. So when I say like, own your choices, okay, that's what I mean. The craft is about owning yourself. 100%. You have to start with that, because every spell you cast, every ritual you do, you bring you into the equation, and your energy and your stuff comes into the spell that you're doing. If your will is not strong and your intent is not clear, it warps your spell. So one of the first things we do, in at least in my tradition, is that you have to do what's called shadow work. You have to figure out who you are for real. Not the BS you tell everybody else, but who you are for real, because that will affect how your spell comes across. Now, is that something you can do in a lifetime? No. But the better you get at it, the more refined your spell work becomes. So witchcraft is really about understanding self to understand the universe, manipulating self to manipulate the universe. That's what witchcraft is.
That is very well put, sir.
Believe me, I've been doing this a minute.
No, very, very well put.
Because I've been told I'm a devil worshiper, and I'm like, there's no devil in my tradition. You part of the devil. No, I don't. I don't even like the devil. Why would I want to do that?
Because you're a witch, that's why. Because you're like that. You're evil, and that's what that is.
That's a Christian thing. That doesn't belong to me. You guys own him.
Welcome to halftime. Give yourself and your mind a moment to rest. Take a slow, deep breath in through your nose. And slow, deep breath out through the mouth. Focus only on your breath. Take another slow, deep breath in. And another slow, deep breath out. Feel better? Good. We want to take this moment to thank you for listening and watching this podcast. We hope you take something positive from it. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment your light bulb moments. We also want to thank one of our biggest sponsors that make this podcast possible, Podcastic. Check them out at podcasticlife.com. Back to the wisdom. So have you had any experiences with what people would consider to be evil in witchcraft?
Yes. Think of it like this. I like the truth. I like reality. I like what's real, at least in my philosophy. And if you look at the natural world, you see violence, you see beauty, you see creation, and you see destruction. They are equally balanced within all living things and even in the universe. There are suns that go supernova and destroy all the planets in order to create a whole new solar system. There are lions that eat gazelles because they're hungry and they're trying to feed their cubs. It doesn't mean the lion is evil. It doesn't mean the sun going supernova is evil. It means it's destructive. And if you understand that those two forces are a part of the natural world, in the craft, you can understand that there are things you can do with the craft that are constructive and creative, and there are things you can do that are destructive and entropic. But you decide which you align yourself with. I choose to align myself with the creative forces. I do primarily what will be considered creative and positive magic. I don't do hexing and things like that on a regular basis. Have I ever done a hex before? Yeah. But I don't pretend like I'm this goody two-shoes person that because I only do this, I'm good, or because I've done this hex before, I'm bad. I don't do that because I don't judge myself based off that. It's more of a, what am I trying to accomplish? Am I attempting to create something or destroy something? If there's something that needs to be destroyed, I have no problem with using magic to destroy it. If there's something that needs to be created, I have no problem with using magic to create it. But I understand that it's a tool. Where the intent comes from, where you decide whether something is good or evil, comes from me. So if I go into it with the intent to do evil, that's on me. It's not a matter of, well, is this magic evil? It's not. It's me who's creating the evil by doing something with malice and intent to do harm. That's what evil is, the conscious attempt to do harm for the sake of doing harm. Now, do I recommend that? No, because we are beings of creation and destruction. And if you lean too far to that destructive side, you pay a price for what you do. You start doing evil stuff all the time, you will pay for it. That is not a question. There's a thing called the rule of three in Wicca. Anything you create comes back to you but times three, meaning whatever you resonate out to the universe is multiplied and returned to you. Not because the universe is punishing you, but because it reflects what you are. And if you are evil and you commit evil acts, you will get evil in return.
So if someone was to commit an evil act or to try to do something that was evil within their craft, right, chose to use their magic for bad, or even against someone, does it actually get to the point where it affects that someone? Say that someone is in the right right? Does like what happens now is, all right, say if it's like, all right, I'm going to cast this spell or do this witch or whatever to affect this person in a negative way because I'm angry and mad. I want to, let me call on whatever power is or use my skill set, whatever, to cast a spell, do whatever, right? I'm going to hex this person, and make bad stuff happen to them. Does this now magic ball go and hit that person and then 3 of them bounce back and that person's like, dang, what just hit me? And then they're like, boom, 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 boom. Like, dang, well, that just hit me back 3 times. So they get hit once and they get 3 times, or does it bounce back? Like, well, how
don't
does
think of it as the number 3. The 3 is arbitrary. It's a matter of the energy being magnified and returned to you. So it doesn't necessarily mean times 3 or 3 times. It means more. The universe. It's
just responding. It's sending back your message with its message, which is the same as yours. It's just
amplified.
Okay.
So, can you do harm to people using magic? Yes, you can, if they are unprotected. Here's the thing. Most people have some sort of belief system. And if they truly believe it, it protects them. If they don't believe it, you ever see that movie Fright Night? In the movie where he pulls up the cross and he's like, and the vampire's like, you have to believe for it to work. You know what I mean? And that's the point.
Okay.
If you have a faith and you believe it, yeah, you're protected. If you don't believe it, no, you're not protected. So yes, that spell will harm you. I guess the difference is this: when it returns to the person who cast it, it's not necessarily going to hit you. It's going to hurt you. So it may not hit you, it may hit your kids, it may hit your significant other, it may hit your coven members, it may hit someone that you care about, it may hit your car. There's no telling how it's going to manifest, but it will return, and it will come at you harder than the way you sent it, which is why we emphasize the idea of creative energies, because the more you send out that's positive, the more you get in return that's positive.
Yeah, so so with that, I get the visual of, say, somebody, creates a spell, hex, whatever, right? Does a ritual to try to send negative energy to someone, and that negative energy runs over. There's like, all right, I'm gonna get them. Like sick the dogs on them, right?
That's a little harder than you think. Think of it like this: it's more like, I am going to try to manipulate probability to make something bad happen to you. The more specific I make it with my intent, and the stronger I put into my will to make it happen, will determine how much it affects you based off of your protection.
Right. So now, once that energy gets there, and it hits whatever it does, is it like, oh, this person's protected. Did you send me over here to a protected person that also did not do
You're getting a lot of anthropomorphization to this energy. It's not like that.
Okay.
You're trying to make it
that's why I'm asking.
Right.
There's a lot of thought processes that go into this for how you can look at it. So I just want to make sure I'm covering all of the bases.
Think of it like you are shooting an arrow, at someone. And this person happens to have a full body shield on because they're protected. The arrow's going to hit them and do nothing because they're protected. If the person is not protected, the arrow may or may not hit them depending on your aim, and may or may not do harm depending on what level of intent or will they have that protects them from it. Now, when the return happens, it's more like you have introduced entropic energy into your matrix. So now that destructive energy is now a part of you and will affect your life in various ways. So your car may not start, or you may blow a tire, or your kid may get sick, or you may get sick, or you may lose your job, or all kinds of negative outcomes begin to pop up around you because of the energy you have now brought upon yourself. So there is no tricking the universe. What you send out returns to you. So that it's not that an arrow returns to you, that a return spell. It's more like you just sabotaged your own stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like you pooped in your own Kool-Aid.
That's kind of gross.
I'm saying it's you've created ugliness in beauty. You've created harm in creation. So you've now created something negative. So generally speaking, 99% of the people who practice the craft, I'll say, do not practice on a regular basis the darker arts. Well, maybe more like 95%. There are 5% out there that do that. But then again, I know there are a good portion of people who practice Christianity or who practice Islam who go out and blow people up. Or
yeah, there's a pole. There's positive and negative and extremes to everything.
Exactly. So, but the problem you have with witchcraft is that all witches have been branded by Hollywood as the we're going to curse you and mess you up type people, and that's generally not who we are.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it a lot of times they love to use the 5-pointed star.
Yeah,
like that's like that's like the symbol. That is like the symbol of witchcraft for the general world. I feel like.
Do you know what the pentagram stands for?
Tell us.
The pentagram, the pentagram with the point upwards stands for earth, air, fire, and water. I'm sorry, earth, air, fire, and water, all oriented up towards spirit. The up-pointed pentagram is to send all of that which is manifest up to deity or up to the spiritual realm. That all of this is just designed to serve that which is spiritual. That's what it means. Now, the inverted is, those who bring all of that which is in the world unto me. And like I said, that's more popular in a lot of, Hollywood culture. Most people don't practice that, but there are people who do. Not knocking people who do. I'm simply saying their philosophy is different from most witches.
Okay. So, what else? What is the life? Is the daily life of a witch different from the daily life of us muggles over here? Like
muggles, I hate that term.
Us digital term. It's. I think it's hilarious, but yeah, us muggles over here, us non-magic people, like. And I don't even want to get into the conversation of the wands because that's even a little bit more.
Well, wands are, again, I tell, and this is actually unpopular in witchcraft, because each tool has an elemental correspondent or, that goes along with it. And in traditional witchcraft, there are specific ones you use for specific purposes. Wands, athames, which is a ritual dagger, are just tools. They are a foci to help the mind focus on what it is you're trying to do. Mm-hmm. So the tool is almost irrelevant to the energy that you're working with. It matters what you believe it is and how it helps to focus your mind. Now, as far as our lives different, yes and no. For the most part, if you were a part of a witch's life, your life is, you go about work and kids and, cooking dinner and all the same things that everybody else does. We just add, for those who are consistent practitioners, we add a magical element to it. Now, when I say magic, I don't mean sleight of hand. I don't mean stage magic. I mean the understanding of the movement of energy in all things. And this is actually a part of common culture. Like when you say somebody's cooking and they put love in it, okay,
that's a real thing to me because mom's cooking, grandma, like family cook is different.
It tastes
different than going to the restaurant. You go to the restaurant, it's like but you go, home and wifey or dad, mom, whatever is cooking. It's different. Like you say, they put some love in it. They got they put them elbows in it. The ancestors have told them how much seasoning to put in. They get that out idea.
Are you saying that there's spirits that are speaking to the person who's cooking through energetic means, and they're putting that energy into the food that they're making? That is witchcraft. I'm sorry, sir. That's witchcraft.
You will not. You will not. You will not.
No, see, legit. I have a friend of mine he's a kitchen witch, and
kitchen witch.
Yes, these are witches who focus their practice on infusing energy into the food that they create.
Wow.
There are like I said, there's different types of witches. There are witches who are ritualists who, their whole practice is focused around doing a ritual for a particular purpose. There are some who are garden witches who are about growing herbs and different plants that are used in ritual or for healing purposes. There are witches who are focused solely on healing. The practice itself is a tool. The energy that you manipulate and how you manipulate it is entirely up to the individual witch. So for me, I'm an energy worker. I love to manipulate and move around energy. So, sorry, this thing is making like a lot of noise. But I love the manipulation of energy, and that manipulation of energy is designed for a variety of purposes. I use it for ritual work, for spellcraft, for healing people, for gaining knowledge, for protection, all kinds of different ways that I use it. But that's my thing. There are some who work primarily with crystals or stones. Some who are earth witches, who are very much into the dirt. Some are very traditional. There are traditions that go back 3,000 years that use a variety of tools and elements to perform their particular spellcraft. But it all depends on the individual. And the practice itself is very customizable for the individual.
Man, that's deep. It's like, so, and that also gives me the same thought of music.
Right. Yeah, it's about flavor.
Yeah, it's just it's really, like you say, the movement of energy and how you conduct it. Oh, the conductor uses a wand.
Yeah.
Well, light bulb moment, but yeah.
But how? Okay, so quick thing on how I got started. I wasn't. There are people who were born into the craft, whose families have been doing it for a long time, thousands of years. But a little history. It came to Gerald Gardner. Okay, was one of the first to bring it to America, but he brought it from a variety of traditions that go back, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years. Where I learned was actually from. Let me get this real quick. I started. There was a book called Scott Cunningham's Green Magic that I started with. It was uncorrected proof that I read in my ex-wife's library, and I started studying based on that. And I was like, this makes sense to my head, and this makes sense to my spirit. This is what I want to learn. But I actually learned, and I'm holding this up for those who are on the podcast. This is Bucky's Big Blue Book, Raymond Buckland's Complete Book of Witchcraft, and you guys see. Raymond Buckland's Complete Book of Witchcraft. And the way I learned, the reason I like this book and I recommend it so much to people is because at the end of each chapter, they ask you questions. So it's like a workbook. And in those questions, you have to answer what you believe about certain things. So like if they ask you, do you believe in spirits? Okay, what do you believe? Do you believe in ghosts? Do you believe in this energetic matrix that is us? Do you believe that when we die we go to heaven or hell, or what are your beliefs about it? And they ask you to write it down, because if someone asks you what an angel is, everybody say, oh yeah, I believe in angels. Okay, well, what do you believe? Do you believe they're little baby looking things with the wings on the back with the little bow and arrow? Do you believe that there are these, Roman looking figures with gigantic wings, flaming sword? Or do you believe, like they were described in the Bible, as fire, feathers, and eyeballs? What do you actually believe about them? And write it down. And the act of writing it down helps to refine your thinking about what you actually believe and what you don't.
Yeah, see, I feel like that's probably one of the more powerful qualities of it, now that we're talking about it, is a lot of it comes down to, like, what is it that you personally believe? Because if you don't believe it, it won't work either way.
It's not real.
Even within your faith, if you don't have, like I say, the faith of a mustard seed, you know what I mean? That whole idea.
Don't do that, sir.
But whatever. But it's a lot of it is based solely on belief, and what you believe is actually what kind of gives it the power in a way.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting how it translates, like even with angels, right? Okay, you say, okay, well, if you believe in angels, what do you think that they look like? Yeah. And even like you say, okay, the fire and these wings or whatever, whereas to one person physically, like, yeah, this is what angels look like to me, because that is the visual representation that we've been given. Mm-hmm. And are you going to take it for that face value? Then that's what you believe. Mm-hmm. Or do you believe something different, to where you might be someone who say, okay, yeah, they're saying fire, they're saying wings, but to me, those things mean other things.
Right.
You want to get into a little bit deeper. Okay, fire is an element. So what does that element of fire mean to you? What is that a representation of? So it might not even be that you put all of those together to create a physical looking being. being, because we want things to look like us but supernatural.
Yeah.
Or you get the ones that are that people can draw from what's described like in the book of Enoch, where it's like all these eyes and they're like terrifying. It sounds terrifying. And so it's very interesting the way that what we believe and how we envision things, it shapes our world, and they can be completely different than the next person the same way as we have. And I bring this idea up a lot, fingerprints.
Yeah.
And the way that that's passed down, because even before, we had the Bible, we had oral traditions because writing was for the elite.
Ooh.
We had a lot of oral tradition. And so when things are passed down orally, it's storytelling. And so now those interpretations are passed down and changed and switched. And so the way that they are understood and believed in can completely change and take on so many different forms, to where now you can have two people who are claiming to name something two different things, but yet practice the same exact thing with a different language for the way that they do it.
Exactly. There's no definitive way for anyone to practice anything, okay? Because when you go into, there's no quote unquote right way to practice your faith or to practice a magical practice. There is the way that works for you. So the witchcraft is no different. It's a matter of finding which flavor of the craft is, works for you. Some are into voodoo, which is more of a religious practice, or hoodoo, which is the magical practice. There are people who are into Santeria. There are people into all kinds of different variations of craft work. But almost all of us, in some way, practice ritual or routine or craft work in some form of our spiritual or religious practice. So it's a matter of understanding what works for you. I found the craft is, it fits me because, again, I like to take responsibility. So I don't like to blame God or the devil or the gods or any other devil or deity for what happens to me. Most of it is my fault. Most of the things that either go wrong in my life, I can trace back to a choice I made, something that I did that caused me to be in the situation that I'm in. I'm not rich because I have a moral compass, and I made choices that would not allow me to do things that would make me money but would cost me spiritually. I understand that I own my life, and the craft helps me to manipulate things in a way that allows me to continue that belief that I own my life. Now, are there things that my deities contribute to? Absolutely, but by my choice, not out of fear, not because someone told me to, not because a book said I had to, but because I resonate with them in a way that's genuine.
So, I just had two thoughts kind of flash in, right? One was the idea about I don't know if this relates or if this is a completely different subject. You just say completely different subject, we can move on. Okay. This might take us into a rabbit hole, and I don't want to go deep down it.
Okay.
I don't want to go deep down it. It's just skirt the surface. But the idea of selling your soul in a way. So like you say, there's things that you can do to become rich, but it would cost you spiritually.
You can't sell your soul.
Okay, can you? All right, go a little bit deeper, just a little bit.
Okay,
not dig a deep trench, but dig a little one, shallow one.
You can make alliances, but you can't sell your soul.
No.
Okay, you can say, okay, I'm going to give you power over me. It's the same as like when they tell you in Christianity to submit to God. That means you are giving yourself to God. Okay, it's not He's taking it. You are giving yourself. And in and of itself, that tells you where the power lies. It lies with you and your choice. So the act of selling your soul you don't sell your soul because you're not going to really get anything.
Man, are you saying my soul's worthless? Come on, it's at least worth a pack of annihilators.
I'm saying that there are beings out there who will trick you into believing that you're getting something that you're not going to get.
No, okay, that's better. Yeah,
a being of destruction cannot give you anything positive. It just
makes sense.
Exactly.
The math's there.
And any being of creation would never ask you to sell your soul. So it understands it has to be freely given. Yeah. So it's never there's no, when people say, can you sell your soul to the devil? No, you can't. The devil will never actually give you anything. You just basically condemned yourself.
So what you're saying is all of the power is within you because
Yeah.
I mean there's not a part of you that's not a part of the gods.
Well,
that
I think the power is in us because we get to choose, and our choices literally change reality. So in the craft, you understand that there is nothing that is not connected to everything else, but my choices will determine what parts I connect to and which way it manifests. So the craft is about choosing how things manifest versus having them accidentally manifest as a byproduct of you existing. The craft is about saying, I want to create a positive outcome in this circumstance rather than, okay, whatever happens, happens. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the difference. It's understanding that choice when it says, give yourself to God, that I'm choosing to give. It's saying that if in the circumstance, I can hope for things to come out right, or I can choose to make them come out right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. Makes sense.
So I tell people all the time, like, there's always a choice to act or not to act. Not acting is a choice. In magical practice, you get the option and the tools with which to act, and do so with as you learn more and more and greater effectiveness. So the craft is really about learning who and what you are and deciding to actively choose which path you're going to walk, which circumstances you want and which ones you don't. If there are people you want to get rid of in your life that do not belong in your life, the craft is an excellent way to have them move on. One of the fun things that we used to do at the temple was there's a spell we put on the building itself because people wished us harm. Lots of Christians came by and threw Bibles at the door and all kinds of one.
Yeah, you throwing the Bible.
Dude, it was hilarious.
What?
A woman threw a Bible at our door, so I went in and highlighted passages from the Bible about forgiveness and love and all that, and put it in our window. And it sat there for like years because it was like, you don't even understand the book you're throwing. Okay, you don't even understand what it means. You don't even understand what Christ represented, and you're here attacking us because you don't understand us either. Look to yourself. So the fun part was we put a hex on the door so the people who wished to do anyone in their harm could not enter. And when the temple keepers, when we'd watch the door, people would come up to the door and they'd reach for the handle and couldn't grab it. They'd try to come in and they couldn't come in, and they'd come to the door and they'd try to open it and couldn't get in. They'd be like, is it locked? No, you can't come in here.
So that's almost like, so I get the idea of if you say you do a ritual to put a hex on the door, right?
It's not a hex.
Or
hex is harm. Hex is harm. Spell work is about anything you decide to make it about. That one was a spell of protection.
So you put a spell of protection on the door.
Yes.
So and the power becomes from, all right, it's because of what I just did with this spell, my belief in it is so strong that it is able to actually manipulate the energy so that it is true in the fact that if someone is trying to come through that door with a negative intention, they cannot open it.
Think of it like magnetically charging something to a particular pole. We charged it for this particular frequency or this particular magnetic charge. So those of the opposite charge can't. They get repulsed from it.
Right, better way of explaining it.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So
I was trying. I was speaking as I was thinking. I'm like, I kind of want to backtrack and restart that, but you explained it better.
Well,
Thank
and
you.
that's the thing. It's like it's not to harm anybody. And the protection is designed for. They don't necessarily have to believe in it, but because we, as a congregation and a group, believed in it, it became much more effective. So people could actually see people walking to the door, stopping and walking away, walking to the door, reaching and walking away, because the energy is in effect all the time. And so if you come with anything negative, it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
That's one way for someone to show their demons.
But that's what I mean when I say, like, it's a tool. The craft is designed to do things to protect yourself, to protect those you care about, to create what you want to create, to remove what you need to remove. Doing whether or not you do evil or ill will with it is entirely on you. Most do not practice the darker stuff because of the fact that Well, the left-hand path has its effects. It's beneficial in some ways, but there's a cost for that. Every bit of magic you do has a cost. And so
I would rather that cost be positive than negative.
Exactly. If you're willing to pay the price, you can do the darker stuff, but you're going to pay a price. It's going to have its consequences. And that's really what I taught people was this. I'm not going to tell you how to use the craft. I'm just going to tell you what's going to happen if you do certain things.
Right.
If you do the darker stuff, okay, be prepared, because there's going to come a cost with that. If you do the lighter stuff, be prepared. There's things you can't do in the craft if you are orienting towards a more positive, creative way of doing things. Now, is there stuff in the middle? Sure, that's just arbitrary. Like, do I want to make sure my car makes it, home, even though my tire is about to blow? Yeah, you can manipulate reality and probability in that way. And there's a neutral effect, but you have to actually intend harm, intend evil to do dark magic. And if you don't intend it, well then, there's magic is just like any other tool. You just use it.
I give you the claps for that.
I'll take that.
So since we're coming to this, has been a very enlightening, reassuring, and interesting conversation. I feel like people will get a lot from this, and I hope I asked some really good questions.
You did.
I hope that brought a lot of clarification, because I do feel like this is a subject matter that is ridiculed a lot and not investigated enough by those that don't have the knowledge of it.
Well, it's scary, and people who don't know anything about it are scared by it, because it's am I going to be punished for it? Is this against Christian doctrine? Yeah. It's against Christian doctrine. But now there are Christo pagans, don't get me wrong, who will say, no, it's not. And don't get me wrong, I don't believe it is personally.
Yeah, but when you say against the doctrine, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's evil or bad. It's just against, it's just not what that doctrine preaches or says.
Exactly.
Just for clarification.
And there's a reason for that. Okay. Like you said before, and you said it, kind of like, without even thinking about it, I don't think. But, if you had the faith of a mustard seed, these things you see me do, you too can do. And that's from the mouth of Jesus. If Jesus says, these miracles you see me perform, you too can do if you had but the faith of a mustard seed.
You would do greater works than I. Is it not written in your laws that ye are gods?
I mean, if you want to get particular about it, yeah. And so when people say, well, magic, I don't believe in magic. Sure you do. You believe in the magic that Christ performed every single time he did it. You believe in
it was more than Christ. I mean, it's that's a different conversation.
Like I said, that's a rabbit hole right there.
Yeah, I don't want to get into that and then have them really throwing the Bibles at lessons in deeper wisdom. So
don't get me wrong. I don't knock. People say, you're bashing Christians. I am not bashing Christians. I believe that Christians should be more Christ-like, not less.
So I would agree. And it's interesting. Like, even while I'm having this conversation, I do have a bit of an understanding of the witchcraft. I don't consider myself a witch. I'm not a witch, no. But I also do deep dives into the Bible. I grew up Christian, Baptist Christian. So
Jehovah's Witness myself.
Well, see, there you go, people. So, but it's like it's not a thing against it. But I do also take my own interpretation and understanding of what the Bible is saying and the stories that are told and the allegories that are there and the books that are.
You think for yourself?
I mean, I do have a mind.
What?
I would hope that I utilize it.
I don't know if I can co-sign that, man. That's dangerous.
Well, hey,
for yourself,
put the cuffs on it. I want to see you try.
But that's what I mean. Yeah. Like, what I want people to understand about witchcraft is that it's not any of the things that you've seen in Hollywood. The closest, if you really want to get to it, the first half of The Craft, not the second half, that was all Hollywood, and the middle portion of a movie called Sandra Bullock, Nicole Kidman, Practical Magic. It took me a minute, but those two movies come the closest, I think, of what the actual understanding of what Wicca and the craft actually are. It's not about the devil. There is no devil, okay, in our tradition, in either witchcraft or in Wicca. So the understanding of that, if you start with that understanding, then it becomes a little bit less terrifying, I think.
Okay. Yeah. I would agree. I hope the people agree.
Oh, and one last thing, witches is not a gender term. Witches can be men or women.
Address that. Yes. Witches can be men or women.
Or trans. So it doesn't matter. The witch is a title, not a gender description.
Noted.
And warlocks are oath breakers, just for the record. So don't call witches warlocks. They don't like it.
I love words and definitions and etymology, so thank you for that. I very much appreciate it, and I'm sure they do too, the listeners. So I'm
gonna catch up over this one.
Yeah, but I'm curious. You know, I'm very curious to see what people think of this, what other questions they have, and even what other questions I kind of can come up with from this conversation. So
we'll loop back.
This is we will. So. Were those your last words, or is that it? All you got?
No. If you are going, before you decide what witchcraft is, learn what witchcraft is.
Ooh, bars. That was a bar. I'm gonna go ahead and go with my typical non-freestyle bar, and I will tell you all to think higher and follow the light bulbs. And that's it for this episode of Lessons in Deeper Wisdom.
Deeper Wisdom.
Peace.
Peace.